That's what the Second Amendment was designed to do. If you're going to do something to nullify or take away my rights under the Constitution, come get it.
Max McGuire.
When you look at politicians on the left, they need to convince people that they are victims.
A resistance to the resistance. And now your hosts, Joe Otto and Max McGuire.
And welcome back to another edition of the Conservative Daily Podcast. As always, my name is Max McGuire.
And I'm Joe Otto.
And today we're going to be talking about the monster economic news that we have, because what we saw this morning are absolutely monster numbers. But before we get to that, we have to play this first because this just broke. This is Joe Biden giving his own basket of deplorables moment. This is Joe Biden denigrating half of Trump's base, just like Hillary Clinton did when she said half of everyone who supports Trump is in a basket of deplorables. Let's play this Biden cut. Let's go with that first cut.
The words of a president matter, no matter who the president is. A president of the United States can send a nation to war. It can bring peace. He or she can make the market go up or down. He can also he can encourage people to do bad things. What he or she says. How many of your friends do you know have children who, when the president comes on there, they pull them away from the TV? Right. Not a joke. Think about it. Think about it. So it really matters. It really matters. Hate didn't begin with Donald Trump. It's not going to end with him. The history of our country is not a fairy tale. It doesn't guarantee a happy ending. But as I said earlier, we're in a battle for the soul of this nation that has been a constant push and pull for over 200 years. I call every American to ask them the following question: is this who we are, what we're seeing now? Is this who we want to be? Is this what would pass on to our kids and our grandkids? You know, I'll do my job and take responsibility, but I won't blame others. I'll never forget that the job isn't about me, it's about you. Is that how we teach it our kids? I work not only to rebuild this nation, but to build it better, stronger, and more inclusive, more resilient than it really was. Look, if elected, my view is that we'll have to address these issues straight on. And the words the president says matter. So when a president stands up and divides people all the time, you're going to get the worst of us to come out, the worst in us all to come out. This president constantly talks about equality without lecturing, talks about and has administrations that looks like the country and the rest. It changes attitudes. And it's about the attitude of the country. Do we want our kids, do we really think this is as good as we can be as a nation? I don't think the vast majority of people think that. There are probably anywhere from 10 to 15% of the people out there that are just not very good people. But that's not who we are. The vast majority of the people are decent. We have to appeal to that, and we have to unite people, bring them together. Bring them together. Thank you.
So that is Joe Biden.
Oh boy.
Saying that, in his opinion, 10 to 15% of the country are just not very good people. So it's interesting because they always say that Donald Trump has a 30 to 40% base, and that's his base support. So what Joe Biden just said is no different than what Hillary Clinton said when she said that half of all Trump supporters belong in a basket of deplorables. Let's play that Hillary Clinton cut just in case anyone else forgot it.
To just be grossly generalistic, you could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it. And unfortunately, there are people like that. And he has lifted them up.
So that is, in case anyone forgot, that was Hillary Clinton saying that half of all Trump supporters belong in a basket of deplorables. Joe Biden had his own deplorables moment today where he said that 10 to 15% of the country are just not very good people. And that's the quote.
I don't know if you saw it.
Work that out. It's 38 to 50 million people that he's talking about. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I don't know if you, well, I forgot what I was going to say. I had so much that I wanted to say. I actually just forgot about what I was going to say.
So that is Joe Biden's basket of deplorables
Okay,
moment. That is him.
So I think that when we look at what he said about 10 to 15%, what I wanted to tell you is that if you actually watch his eyes on that deal, he's actually reading a teleprompter. He has not gotten to the point where he can't have a ongoing conversation where he is actually free thought, like just free thoughts that come out of his head. He can't, and they can't trust him to do that anymore. And if that doesn't scare you for not voting for Biden, I don't care who you vote for, but voting for Biden, he has to read off a teleprompter that someone else wrote for him. And you can say whatever you want about Trump. Trump is as raw as he can be because he's not a politician. He's not.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a good point. Hillary Clinton's comment was off the cuff completely.
Right.
Joe Biden, that entire line of argument
was scripted.
Scripted right off of a teleprompter. So
Paula, she's not relevant anymore, just so you know. You asked if she's relevant. She's not relevant. She's definitely not relevant. But the reality, Hillary Clinton is not relevant. But the reality of it is.
Well, no, the reason we played it is because it's the same kind of moment. They actually said the same thing. When Joe Biden says 50 million Americans, 38 to 50 million Americans are just not very good people. Statistically, that is the same as what Hillary Clinton said when she said half of Trump's supporters belong in a basket of deplorables.
Right.
It's the same thing, just with a different way of explaining it. He's literally saying the same thing. So we wanted to go with that first because that was big news. It's just breaking today, and we had to cover it because it's absolutely horrible what Biden said. But I want to transition now into the jobs numbers that came out today.
I know.
Because
how about that,
they are absolutely, they surprised everyone. No one expected these numbers today. The stock market didn't expect it. Economists didn't expect it. Even Trump didn't expect these numbers today. Producer Josh, go ahead and throw up image 5. This is what it looked like on CNN this morning. They are very upset by this. That does not look like anchors' faces as what you would expect them to look like, reporting that the United States economy gained 2.5 million jobs in May and an unemployment rate actually declined in May. They were very upset about that. Let's go to image 2. This is Paul Krugman. He is an economist. He writes a lot for the New York Times. He infamously suggested that everyone sell their stocks on Trump's election night because he was going to tank the economy. Here he is basically peddling conspiracy theories that Donald Trump has gotten to the Bureau of Labor Statistics and that these are false. It's absolutely incredible the length to which Democrats will go to try and make these numbers out to be no big deal. This is the best numbers we could have possibly gotten today. You cannot expect better numbers from the BLS than we got today. But Democrats are furious because they expected them to be worse.
And this is why I don't understand why people don't see through it. I don't understand why they don't see through it. How can you not look at over and over and over and over again that even good news is bad news and bad news is good news, and it's okay to loot and light fires, and that's essential, and all that stuff is good. It just gets to what I said before, which is 10% of the loony left, right, and 10% loony right. The fringes are creating a narrative for us in the middle, the 80% that I think are marginalized in the middle. We should stop listening to CNN. CNN should, this Paul Krugman guy, he should have been gone. He shouldn't even have anybody follow him. How do you follow someone that is so just distorted? And their mind, it's not even something that people can look at and go, maybe there's something to this. There's nothing to it. So now he got to the BLS. Are you kidding me?
As if he's falsifying Bureau of Labor Statistics numbers. But we talked about this on a past podcast. Let's throw up image 3, Josh. This was an article in Politico that Democrats are dreading good economic news. That they realize that once the lockdown's over, the gains that we will see in the economy, both raw numbers of people getting back to work, as we saw today, 2.5 million people getting back to work last month. And again, that number probably reflects the second half of the month. I highly doubt that those job gains were from the first half of the month.
Right.
But seeing this and seeing what this article from Politico is talking about, that they're actually dreading an economic recovery because they truly believe that's the only way that they can get Donald Trump out. It really is disgusting. And I want to get your opinion on this, Joe. But before, I just want to play this again. And we've played it before. I want to play it again. Cut 4. This is Bill Maher actually saying he wants a recession because that would mean that he would be able to get Trump out of office. Let's go to cut 4.
To me. Can I ask about the economy? Because this economy is going pretty well. We have to, what? Why is that funny?
It is going well for now.
For now, right. That's my, thank you. That's my question. Is like, I feel like the bottom has to fall out at some point. And by the way, I'm hoping for it because I think one way you get rid of Trump is a crashing economy. Yeah. So please, bring on the recession. Yeah. Sorry if that hurts people, but it's either root for a recession
Sorry it hurts
or
people.
You lose your democracy.
Trump is doing everything you could possibly do to screw up the good economy. It's like, everything's going great.
Yes.
And this is the great thing. You watch Trump's rhetoric. He stands up there and says, lowest unemployment ever, African-Americans doing great, we're all doing fantastic, best ever. But also, it's a disaster. We got to change everything.
Right.
America's getting robbed blind by the foreigners. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, we have a good economy or a bad economy? If we have a good economy, why not just let it ride? If we have a bad economy, we'll have another conversation. But he's making no sense. But then, of course, that is the refrain of the Trump administration.
If you look, just
so that is Bill Maher, Joe. And this is an older clip. This is him rooting for a recession as a means to take Trump out. Democrats have spent the last 2 months hoping that this would give them that recession. And now today we're seeing monster job numbers proving that the president's prediction could likely come true instead of a long, drawn-out U-shaped recovery, a V-shaped recovery where we shoot right back up. What do you think about that?
I think that it's going to, if it can't happen fast enough, we want to get as many people back to work as we possibly can. And look, I think that we have to give credit where credit is due. And what, you know, Bill Maher and the guest, I don't know who the guest was on Bill Maher, but what he keeps saying when he refers to rhetoric and refers to things that Trump says, Trump calls out sees theft, sees mass amounts of American taxpayer dollars leaking out to places they shouldn't go.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he's bad because he's calling out the systematic destruction of our, erosion of our country. And all of a sudden he's a bad guy. He's trying to screw up the economy because he's cutting off and renegotiating trade deals with China and balancing the trade deficit, which, by the way, hasn't been done if you go back all the way back to the Clinton administration, way back in the 90s. So he's doing things to help people in their community, and they're beating him for it. They're literally beating him for it. That's because they do not want the black community to be successful. They don't want it. Democrats that are in power and in leadership, these one percenters, they don't want the black minority community to do better. They don't want them better at all. And you could say, well, yes, they do, Joe. They stand up for those communities. Really? Highest incarceration rate in those areas, right? Highest poverty rate, lowest education rate. I mean, I can go down the line, and they're all run by Democrats, right? The loony left.
Yeah.
That's why I keep saying is that we elect loony lefts. We elect people that literally get into office because of rhetoric. That's how they get into office. That's why they come after Trump about rhetoric, because they're constantly doing it.
Yeah.
Bill Maher just said, I don't care if it hurts people. He actually said it. I don't care if it hurts people, right? I don't want Trump in office. That by itself is Trump derangement syndrome. That is the definition of it. I want to hurt people at the expense of, or because I want him out of office, because he's not my guy. He's not my guy.
Well, let's play this clip, because you talk about how Democrats, how the mainstream media don't actually want to help the minority community, because if they did, they'd use the power they have to advance minority-owned businesses, right? Create opportunity zones in lower income areas and inner cities. I want to play this clip because today Donald Trump had a press conference at the White House. And after, it wasn't really a press conference. He didn't take any questions, right? At least I didn't hear any when I was watching. He also signed legislation to extend the PPP and to add some changes to help businesses. While he was signing that legislation, he was signing a bill into law. liberal reporters were chirping at him, trying to fact check him, and claim that his rosy optimism is unfounded because black unemployment ticked up by a percent of a percent. Let's go to this clip. Let's go to cut 3.
Black unemployment went up by 0.1%. Asian American unemployment went up by 0.5%. How is that a victory?
You are something.
How is that a victory?
Thank you very much. I have to say, though, it's been an honor. This is such a great achievement. Feel so good about it. This is just the beginning. The best is yet to come.
So, Joe, he's reporting that the economy gained 2.5 million jobs, that unemployment went down, that more and more businesses are opening, more people are getting back to work. And this idiot reporter, I haven't had a chance to try and figure out who it is yet. I'm sure someone's posted online. This idiot reporter is chirping at him during a bill signing and saying, how can you claim this is a victory when black unemployment went up 0.1%? She's chirping at him because black unemployment went up 0.1%. This is disgusting. She should have her press credentials revoked immediately.
Well, unfortunately, you can't do that because the press has become a new weaponized source of psyops, right? I mean, they literally are creating propaganda everywhere. And look, the reality of it is the people that actually are injured by this, that are actually hurt by this, is the American people. We're the ones that are marginalized. The American people are the ones that are marginalized. It's not the politicians. It's not the media. They didn't stop working. The media didn't stop working. They kept on doing their thing, right? Even we kept on doing our thing every day. But the American people are left out in the cold, trying to figure out what's truth and not truth. And no matter where they turn, they can't seem to get the truth from anyone. And you know, Trump, it's almost like when my kids were little, they would get really angry at me and screaming at me when I'm trying to keep them safe. Like, I'm like, get out of the street, and grab them by the arm. Like, let go of my arm. Right? The reality is, if they would stay in the street, they would have got hit by a car. So I'm trying to help them, and they're beating me while I'm trying to help them. Same thing can be said for what Trump's doing. I don't think he's the most eloquent speaker out there. I don't, right? I don't think he's polished, and I think that he is very brash in his approach. But I think that his heart is in the right place. I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to make the American people better. He's trying to let them realize that, hey, there are secret pockets inside of our government, right?
Yeah,
deep state,
absolutely.
that are basically doling out dollars outside the country to people, right? With they can just do it. It's impunity. They have different funnels that go everywhere. Here, let's send some money to India. Let's send some money to Russia. Let's send some money to Ukraine. Let's give Ukraine $1 billion. And oh, by the way, do me a favor. Fire this guy. Hire this guy. Hey, my brother needs a job. He has a company in California, Nancy Pelosi. So can you help him out and give him a contract? And government contract work. Hey, claim that you're a Native Indian or a Native American so that you can get this $30 million contract. This is happening literally every day under the noses of the American people. And the American people go to work. They go to work. Black, white, green, yellow, purple, purple dinosaur with webbed feet. They all go to work, right? And when they go to work, they get their paycheck either once a month, twice a month, right? And that paycheck has 30% on the average. 30% of their pay goes to the government. 30% of your pay. Let me just do the math for you. If you make $5,000, $1,500 of your paycheck every single month, $18,000 a year goes to the government. That doesn't count tax on your food, doesn't count any of those things, right? And so as Americans, we're contributing an enormous amount of what we make to the government. And then the government goes and hands it out to foreign interests or feeds themselves with it, right? What are we getting for that 30%? Like why should we be giving money to different countries when I'm giving 30% of my effort, 30% of every time I lift something, write something, work overtime, bust my butt, getting up at 4:30 in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, go to sleep at 6, 7, or going home at 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, right? Getting to bed at 11 because I got a bunch of work to do. 30% of all of that effort belongs to the government. And they want to take that 30% and they want to give it away. And Trump comes in and says, y'all are crazy. What are you doing? Let's lower taxes. Let's cut government. And then the Democrats come in and say, let's just simplify it for everyone. The Democrats come in and say, you want to lower taxes? We want to raise taxes. We don't have enough of your tax money. You're 30%. I want 35% of your blood.
No, it's crazy. Like we've talked about this yesterday. We talked about this the day before. The new movement around the country is to defund the police. This idea that we should just cut police funding. In Minneapolis, Minnesota, they're talking about literally tearing down the police department, getting rid of their police, and starting over with some new community policing idea. LA is talking about removing between 100 million and 150 million from their police department and moving it towards other programs. And in the same breath of saying that we're not going to give police money, the Democrats are also saying we have to cut off the police department's access to the 1033 program in the Pentagon, where police departments basically spend pennies on the dollar to get surplus equipment instead of having to buy it new. So they're saying you can't buy cheap equipment from the federal government. You have to buy it retail. But, we're also not going to give you any money to buy it at retail and from distributors. So you're not going to have any equipment. It's insane what we're going through. And yeah, you're right. Tax day, usually in the beginning of the first 2 weeks of April, that's usually the point that you have to work in a year. You have to go through April before the money that you earn, you get to keep. Once you hit April, it's usually right around tax day. Once you hit tax day, that tends to be the day where every dollar you earn after that, you get to keep. You've already worked enough for your tax liabilities. It's insane. And to see that, like, Joe Biden wants to raise people's taxes. Well, it's not going to be for policing. We've already heard that he wants to defund the police, right? Well, then what's going on? You can't own a gun to defend yourself. Right? They don't want you to do that. The left doesn't want that. But the left also doesn't want the police to be able to defend you. So they just want no one to be defended. Unless you're a protester, then they're going to push through legislation to stop Trump from calling in the military to put down riots.
But the issue is
it's unbelievable.
The issue is it's not even logical. Like, logical people, smart people are saying, wait, what? You want to dismantle the police department?
Yeah.
Right? You actually want to do that. You want to increase my taxes. I don't know of anybody I know at any economic level that says, I don't pay enough in government taxes. Right? Do you, Josh? Do you?
No.
You? Lamar, do you play? Lamar's in the studio today. But do you pay too much in taxes? Do you want to pay more? Right. So when they talk about, I don't know of anybody that says, I want to pay more taxes. Oh, we need to fund this. Yeah. We need to fund that. And people are like, oh, yeah, it's only 0.01%, or it's only 0.2% or 0.3%. It's only one more form. But they have literally made us slaves in our own environment. We are slaves. I mean, 30% of our money, and that doesn't count gas tax, which is 50 cents on the dollar, right, for the tax at the pump. It doesn't count any of that. It doesn't count your property tax and your sales tax on large items and tax.
You're taxed it every way. Here's the ridiculous thing. 2 weeks ago, Democrats were calling to give first responders a bonus. There was a bill that was introduced in Congress to give first responders, police officers, a $25,000 bonus for the good work that they have done during the coronavirus pandemic, during the lockdowns, right? They wanted to give police officers a bonus. Today, they want to take all of their funding away.
Right.
They've completely done a 180 in 2 weeks.
Because what they're trying to do is create chaos. Look, if you're listening and you're a Democrat, like you are 100% committed to the I am a liberal, right? Nothing against you, right? I hope that you're in the 80% that's mostly marginalized by these politicians, right? But if you could just tell me, tell me how you could justify listening to what they say and make sense of any of it, right? And feel good about it, waking up in the morning saying, I feel good about how I'm not talking about your social issues, right? I'm not talking about any of that. Like, I'm pro-life, you're pro-choice, great. You can be pro-choice. I'm going to fight for the right for life on my side. We can separate those two things. But tell me how much sense it makes that they want to defund the police, right? They want to make you pay more taxes, and I just can't understand how you in good conscience could vote for that. I don't know how you could vote for it. I don't know how you can say the government needs more money. They don't need more money. They need to be smaller. They need to be less influence and get out of the way of American businesses and people so they can live their lives. And you say, well, you have the environmental issues, and we got to make sure that we keep our environment safe. Okay. Does it require 30 million government workers? Does running this country, just think about it. 1 in 10 people works for a government in our country. 1 in 10.
Yeah. Yeah, no, when the government shuts down and they send all of the non-essential government employees home, you don't notice a difference.
No.
Life still goes on.
Right.
Unless the politicians deliberately try to inflict pain, like when Obama would close down sidewalks for no reason or close down open air parks for no reason. Unless there's deliberately inflicted pain, you don't notice when non-essential government employees are off the job. When they send quote unquote non-essential private sector employees on the job, off the job, they send them home. It's complete economic destruction. Like we're on the brink of a depression if we don't turn this around. Thank goodness for the numbers that came out today. It just goes to show you when you send non-essential government employees home, you don't notice. When you send non-essential private sector employees home, it's complete chaos, and people starve. There's such a clear difference, and yet the media makes it out to be that government shutdowns are some catastrophic thing. And when they tank the private sector economy, they claim that, oh no, you just have to sit down and shut up. We're going to tell you who's essential and who's not. It's just every day goes by, we see more and more. We're able to pull back the covers more and more and see just how BS, just how politicized all of these lockdowns were.
Yeah.
It's just becoming more obvious. I want to cut to this image because I found this today, and it's what we've been talking about the past couple of days. Let's go to image 1. This is from a county in California, I believe, Contra Costa County. And these are the updated shelter in place, like safe at home kind of orders. And it says that if you're going to have a social outdoor gathering, you cannot have more than 12 people. But if you're going to have a protest, you're allowed to have up to 100 people at the protest. This is what we've been talking about the past couple of days. It makes no sense, right? They're letting 100 people walk shoulder to shoulder, and no one's going to obey that in their county. There's going to be more than 100. They have completely different set of rules, and realize that you can't, even if you had a big enough space, like they're not letting you put 100 people in a church. They're not letting you put 100 people in a concert hall. They're not letting you put 100 people in a large restaurant, right, or a large bar. But they're letting 100 people protest. It's so obvious that there are people in positions of power that want to tank the economy. It's not just Bill Maher. It's a huge swath of the Democratic Party that wants the economy to fail. It's right out there for everyone to see.
But here's the thing. Like I had a conversation today with a young man who I was incredibly impressed with. And I got to hear his story. And I only want to bring this up because we talk about Democrats and Republicans, and I listened to his story as a black man that grew up in a rural area, in a rural state. And I'm not going to say what his name is because I didn't get his permission to do that. But he talked about his experience, like his personal experience with the anxiety he feels when he comes into contact with police officers. He talked about some of his other fears. And these fears are real, right? Because it's life experience that brought him to those fears. And we started talking about politics and how some of the movements that are out there that are, I think, really good. I mean, really good movements that stand for something. Like, none of us want corruption. Like, Max, do you want corruption? Like, you don't want corruption in the police force. You don't want corruption in politics. You don't want corruption anywhere. Corruption's terrible, right? It destroys people's lives. But, we sat and talked about his experience with it, and it was real. But then I said, look, the problem with all of these good organizations is they get hijacked. They get hijacked by extremist ideologies, right? I call them the loony left with him. I said the loony left and the crazy right, the loony right, the far right. And I said that we have this 80% in the middle that gets marginalized. And he's like, exactly. I can't disagree with you. And yet on any other stage, someone he leans at I didn't ask him if he was a Democrat, but he called me a Republican, right? But he leans to the left, probably further left than I do. Yet we can, as we started talking, the more we talked, the more we agreed. And the more I understood him, he understood me, right? And amazing. One of the articulate, super smart, talked about lost opportunities as far as in the workforce when he graduated from college, things that pain me, right? That should pain anyone. But it's the underlying ability for these crazy people that do this 100 protesters with 12 people in a gathering that want to control every aspect of your life, that they literally, like a cancer, have seeped into every part of what we do as a country. They are literally trying to take over and control everything that we do, everything that we think, everything that we feel. They're telling us what we have to believe. It's crazy. This loony left extremist agenda is destroying the fiber of what we represent as a country.
Yeah.
And they're getting people to agree with it because they're muling the rhetoric in the middle of it rather than dealing with the problem associated with that particular issue.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a real quick break, and when we come back on the other side, we're going to talk more about the economic numbers and how terrified Democrats are of a V recovery when it comes to the economy. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Ronald Reagan famously said that our freedoms are never more than a generation away from extinction. Conservative Daily exists to make sure that never happens. With our community of 700,000 members, we fight every day to hold Congress's feet to the fire and stop them from surrendering our rights and freedoms. The fight to take this country back is not over. Please join our movement right now by going to conservative-daily.com and clicking the subscribe button to sign up for our free call to action newsletters. We have a chance to save this country, but only if we all work together. Again, this is conservative-daily.com, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button at the top.
And we are back from that break, quick break. I want to play this clip because this is a clip from a couple days ago. Trump did an interview, I believe it was with Newsweek, where he predicted that we would have a sharp economic recovery. Let's go to this. Let's go to cut one.
We're going to have an economy very soon, not so, people would say, will it be in 10 years? It'll be soon. It'll be next year. We're going to have a phenomenal year next year. Unless a guy like Biden wins and he wants, they want to raise everybody's taxes through the roof. What's that all about? You'll kill it. You'll totally kill what will be soon another golden goose. I built it once. And remember, artificially closed. If we didn't do that, we would have lost 2.5 million people. 1.5, 2.5. We would have lost anywhere from 10 to 20 or 25 times more people than we lost. We did the right thing. But now it's time to open.
So that's Joe. Joe, that's Donald Trump predicting that we'd have a really good economy unless someone like Biden were to get in the way. Let's jump to this. Let's jump to cut two. This is Jim Cramer. I believe it's on CNBC talking about the numbers that were released today. Let's go to cut two.
Stupendous number. It's superb. There are many people who thought that this would be the historic beginning of the Depression, 20% layoff. We start looking back to comparing it to 31, 33, and that's off the table. I listened to the discussion. There people were saying was lagging or leading, whatever. I mean, who the heck cares? I mean, the fact is that we're back, and I think there were a lot of people who felt that the layoffs would be permanent. It is obvious that there's so much demand that people have to bring people back. Retailers had to bring people back, and that's before we even opened up the malls. Who knows what will happen once we do? And when you look at the different sectors of where they're hiring, the construction number is rather extraordinary. Obviously, the housing business, it's true. The lower rates took off. I mean,
so he called it stupendous. He called it amazing numbers. I want to throw this image up, and I'll get your reaction to this. Let's go to image number 4. This is the tweet that Joe Biden put out last night. It's, we can't take 4 more years of this. Out of all of the tweets that you could possibly send out, because that was the first tweet that was on his Twitter account early this morning when these numbers came out. I cannot think of worse timing to say we can't take 4 more years of this than the excellent economic news that we saw today, which was that the U.S. gained 2.5 million jobs and that the unemployment rate actually declined. I cannot imagine a worse look than for Joe Biden to have to be campaigning against this. And yes, that's what they're doing. They're going to try and say, just like we looked at that clip of the reporter chirping at the president and blaming him for black unemployment going up 0.1%. That's statistically insignificant, right? It's horrible that people have lost their jobs, but when you're looking at, like yelling at the president for the black unemployment rate ticking up 0.1%, seriously, it's just, they're going to be grasping at straws. It's going to be interesting and probably a little entertaining to watch, but it's obvious now that they want to take back the White House by any means necessary. And if it means tanking the economy, if it means trying to put down people who are doing good work, they're going to do it.
Yeah, you know, the reality of it is that the Democrats choose to control. You go to every one of their communities and they want to control the population. They want to control it by making them have to work a little bit harder just to eat, right? Just to feed themselves. They want to maintain control by creating a almost like a kingdom type of environment where they sit on top and rule down upon the people. And the bad part is the Democrats are, some of them are waking up to it, saying, hey, listen, they truly just want to take more from me. So I put $1 on the table. They used to take 30 cents of my dollar. Now they want to take 35 cents of my dollar. Pretty soon it'll be 40 cents or 45 cents.
Oh, yeah.
Right? They want to defund the police to make it less safe, not more safe. They want to create rhetoric that talks to an event. It's a populist type of environment, right? Create as much chaos, as much rhetoric as possible, right? So by the time they figure out that I'm not for them while I'm talking about being for them, it'll be too late. Like, we're going to take away your guns. We're going to take away anything that could, we're going to bubble wrap you, make you safe, make you wear 2 helmets. We're going to, just put in a mouth guard, send you to school, have your kids sit on different ends of the room, wear a face mask, be afraid of everything you can see and not see. If that's not psyops, I don't know what is. But if they are successful in kind of permeating this cancer across our country in the name of good, sooner or later we are going to wake up and we're not going to have we're going to have no freedom. There's going to be no freedom. They're going to tell you what to think, what to eat. They're already doing that, right? Where to park, what to drive. Everything about what they're doing is control. And my friend Theo said something to me once. He said, look, Joe, what they practice in my community, they're going to bring to yours, right? And he was talking about what was happening with the corruption and the fact that he feels oppressed in the inner city, right? From what the police do to what the judges do to what the DAs do in prosecuting and the powerlessness that they feel in those communities. But I equate that to what they're doing in the inner cities by stripping you of your rights, right? Not having you question it, and then bringing it to our communities. Because now you got Mothers Demand Action that comes out and says, oh, every life matters, so we're going to take away all of your guns to protect yourself. Now we're going to defund the police. I mean, everything that they're doing is in an effort to create chaos and fear. Now the normal things that you would normally be afraid of, you're not afraid of those. You're afraid of everything. I see people walking around literally that are now afraid to be in the room with 10 other people because they think they actually think, based on the rhetoric, they're going to die of coronavirus. Yeah. I asked the young man, I said, do you think you're going to die? He says, yeah, I think that this is going to kill me if I get it. And I'm thinking to myself, what is wrong with you? Like, we used to jump people.
Yeah, that kind of speaks to the general. That speaks to the general fear that's being instilled in people. It's and a lot of that is the media's fault. Like, there is not a rise in school shootings in the United States. The rise comes from the fact that the media sensationalizes every case of it, right? We don't see rises in these things. We see increases in the media coverage of horrible shootings like that, right? So they make it look like shootings are on the rise to instill fear, right? To make you afraid to go outside. We talked about it yesterday. They do the same thing with police shootings to make you afraid and believe that it's happening every day. Like, they talk about the coronavirus, that if you get it, you're going to die. Well, no, Actually, if you get it statistically, removing all other comorbidities and age and all their factors, the average person has a 1 in 400 chance of dying from a coronavirus, which again, horrible, but that's obviously equalized. It's less if you don't have comorbidities. But just to put it in perspective, your odds of dying from drowning in a swimming pool at any time in your lifetime is 1 in 1,200. So dying from the coronavirus is you're only 3 times more likely to die from the coronavirus than you are to drown in a swimming pool in your lifetime, right? So the odds, the way the fear mongering works, it makes everyone afraid, and that's how Democrats operate, and to a large extent too, Republicans operate the same way. They talk about terrorism, and use that fear as an excuse to chip away at other rights. Just because the Democrats want to chip away at your Second Amendment and your First Amendment doesn't mean that Republicans are squeaky clean in this either. They've gone after your right to privacy. They've gone after your Fourth Amendment rights. It's obvious. So both sides do it. They use fear to govern, fear to herd their supporters together. And the thing I'm hopeful about is that people are starting to wake up. People are starting to say, well, wait a minute. I'm not allowed to go buy a sandwich at the corner deli, but I am allowed to go march shoulder to shoulder with people not wearing masks. How does that make sense? How does it make sense that I can only have 12 people at a backyard barbecue, but I can have 100 if I make it a protest? How does that make sense? People are starting to realize that the so-called science approach that the left said that they were using was BS from the start, right? As soon as you start saying it's safer to protest than it is to barbecue, you've lost all credibility in my mind. Let's throw that up again for anyone who didn't see it. That picture, it's image number 1. Yeah, so this is from a California county. We showed it before, but just anyone who's joining, this is a California county that the new coronavirus lockdown rules say you can protest with 100 people, but you can only have an outdoor gathering, a social gathering, with 12. It makes absolutely no sense. But at least now everyone can see it, right? People aren't afraid. My supermarket now no longer, H-E-B in Texas, they used to require people to wear masks to go inside. They lifted that this week. You're seeing more and more people out and about. People are starting to realize that this was overhyped and they just want to get back to work, and the economic numbers are showing it.
Oh, we had traffic. We had traffic yesterday in Denver. It was great. I'd never been so happy to see traffic in all my life. I thought it was going to take me 15 minutes to get home. It took me 40 minutes. And about halfway through, my happiness turned to sadness, turned to frustration. Because
frustration.
My 15-minute went back to 40 minutes. I was like, I want my 15-minute ride back.
Yeah.
You're going to see people that are like, oh, it's so good to see traffic. Go, oh, I hate traffic. Oh, I want to kill that guy next to me. Why are you looking at me? Why are you on your phone in your car? And then we're going to get back to just ridiculing everybody and saying, being, judgmental Molly, right? Hope there's no Mollies listening.
Well, and remember that this 2.5 million jobs number added in May, the first 2 weeks of May were still complete lockdowns across the country. Right? Very little was allowed to open. Those 2.5 million jobs added made up for jobs lost in the first half of the month. Taking this current trajectory, June should be an astronomical month, right? I cannot imagine how frustrated and how nervous Joe Biden and his team are to see this number, because they've politicized this. We've talked about this. They're afraid of a swift economic recovery. They want Donald Trump to be a depression president. They don't want him to rebuild the economy. I cannot imagine how terrified Joe Biden's economic advisors have to be to deliver this news that they're not going to be able to go into November with a depression president. It's they must be sweating bullets over there, because again, this 2.5 million jobs added number, that's from the back half of the month. We lost jobs in the first half of the month. At this trajectory, it's going to be a rocket ship. Trump said it's not a V recovery, it's a rocket ship straight up, and he's absolutely right.
Well, because I think everyone is going to react the same way. Now, I will tell you that we have lots of different companies that we engage with on a regular basis, and those companies that we engage with, large and small, have run into another problem, and that is people are saying to the employer, hey, you know what, I'm making more on unemployment right now because the government's paying me $600, plus I get unemployment, more money than I made before, so I'm just going to continue to do it. And so they're literally having to now tell those employees, look, I gave you the opportunity to get back. Now I'm going to report it back to the unemployment office that you refused your job.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that's going to be a challenge for a lot of people. And one of the proposals that's actually being put out is obviously that's how it works on unemployment. If you are offered a job and you don't take it, then you no longer qualify. The interesting thing is almost every state has suspended the requirement that you look for work. So that mechanism for employers to say, I offered them a job, they didn't take it. I don't know of any state yet that has that still in play. Every state I know of that I've looked at still is letting people stay at home without searching for work. Once that job search requirement goes in, if you're offered a job and you don't take it, done, you're off. But another proposal that we're seeing picking up more steam, and as a conservative, you never like the idea of just throwing money at the problem, but it's this proposal that taking people on unemployment and offering a signing bonus for them to go back to work, right? If they have X number of months left on unemployment and that's going to get them, I don't know, $10,000, right? Offering them a $3,000 signing bonus to get off of unemployment and into the workplace. That's something that's been promoted over the years as a way to get people back into the workforce. You're going to see more people kind of promoting that, because if these people are just going to collect unemployment anyway, why don't we get them back to work at the same time? So there's going to be a lot of hard decisions that have to get made. But yeah, you're absolutely right. That's going to be the next hurdle, that employers are going to have a hard time getting people back to work, because the way the Democrats wrote the original bill, they stand to make more sitting on their couch binge watching Netflix.
well, sooner or later, and by the way, it's going to prove itself out, because those people are not going to be desirable for businesses to hire because of the work ethic issue, right? Businesses look at those things. So I would encourage people to get back to work as soon as you can.
Yeah, and the other challenge is that these people, unless you're talking about just like a laborer or someone who just does basic work, most companies have spent a lot of money training their employees that they had to lay off. They spent a lot of time, effort, and money to train their employees. It's not as easy as just flipping on the light switch and saying, I'm going to replace you, because then they have to go through that training requirement all over again. It could be catastrophic to a business to have to reopen with all new green people. So that's the other side of it too, that businesses have an incentive to get the same employees back, because even if they say, oh, you're not a hard worker, obviously you just want to collect unemployment, they've spent so much time and money training them that it would be catastrophic to lose that investment. It's just it's incredible watching what's going on in this country, watching the facade of the coronavirus fall, watching the fear-mongering go away. I don't know if you saw this yesterday. Amazon blocked a book revealing the truth about the coronavirus. They blocked it for going against the CDC numbers. Elon Musk went on and defended the author and called for Amazon to be broken up. And Amazon was forced to actually list the book for sale. There's a big push to retake the economy back, to retake our country back, get back to work.
I mean, let's just call it what it is. We are finally at a place. See, something that someone said, this young man said to me this morning, right? He impressed me so much that I said, go get your resume, because I really want you as a part of our team. But one of the things he said is that the voice now is no longer centralized with Pandora. They don't own it. They don't own the voice. Like, we can do podcasts and we can have free thought and talk at the same time that they're trying to stymie that. Like Facebook, what do they do to us, Max, on Conservative Daily? We constantly, we said we were not spending money on Facebook. Well, we have lots of other places that we go to, and we have hundreds of thousands of members that are a part of our community. But we just said we're not going to spend money on Facebook. And we watch them as they come out and they say, we're going to suppress people being able to see your podcast. We're going to suppress people being able to see your message. We see it all the time, right? So, but what he said is that we've decentralized the voice. And there's so much to that. Like, we have the ability to have a voice and take our country, but we have it. And I think they're afraid of it. I think a large part of what they're doing, this oppression that they're doing on fear and we want to keep you safe, is all a play. It's all a play.
Yeah.
The reality of it is they're not keeping anyone safe. They're not keeping us safe. They're keeping themselves in power. They're keeping themselves in charge. They're trying to make sure that they can control people so they can raise your taxes. Here, this is newsflash. Democrats want your money. So if you want to support Joe Biden, right? If you want to support the loony left, which, by the way, I didn't say liberals, right? I think that I have lots of friends who are liberal, Lots. And I'm a conservative. I'm unapologetically a conservative, right? But I have lots of liberal friends. But if you want to support the loony left and you want them to take more of your money and you want them to waste it and give it away to foreign nations while they watch people on the street go broke and go hungry, if you want that, then vote for Biden. It's really that simple. But vote for Biden. Vote for a Democrat if you want them to take control of your life, take away your freedoms, attempt to try and make you safe while they beat you into submission and tell you, thank you, Daddy, can I have another? If you want to do that, vote for a Democrat. If you don't, vote for anyone but a Democrat. And I'm not even telling you to vote for a Republican, although I would, because you'll start to see your communities turn around very quickly, right? But you have to vote for the right person, too. And I think that on both sides, we're starting to realize that we need better leadership, Max. We need people, we need Trumps. I mean, you say what you want. He's not what I want my kids to represent or to think of when they think of a politician. No, what you wanted before, right, is you wanted someone that talked nice and smiled and showed you ice cream in their freezer and told you how bad the other person is while they steal from you and take your money and don't put air conditioning in your school. Look, I see it everywhere. Every inner city is the same thing. Dilapidated education system. The worst teachers in the world because the good teachers won't stay because the leadership won't support the good teachers' initiatives in the schools to support the kids. And you know it because your wife was a teacher and they ran her out of town, right? They ran her. Did they not run her out of town? They treated her badly, threw things at her. Yeah. I mean, it was crazy. And when she started to discipline them, the principal came in and said, "Oh, listen, you have to learn to be on their side. Be on their side. How about you discipline these little you-know-whats and tell them that, hey, this is not how it works. I'm trying to teach you something."
Yeah, no, the whole system is broken. It's the whole system. And that was a charter school. That was supposedly one of the good ones. Well, I think that's going to be it for this episode. I do want to end on some good news, other than this good news about the economic numbers, which are fantastic. The Florida Supreme Court has just announced that it is blocking an assault weapon ban from appearing on the ballot in November because it was vague and didn't really tell the whole story of what the ban would do. So the Florida State Supreme Court says that the assault weapon ban in Florida will not be on the ballot, which is good news for us because that means less of an incentive for Democrats on the other side to come out and vote because a lot of people vote for that issue. It also means that we don't have to defend that in Florida because that was a really frightening thing. Any last words, Joe?
Don't vote for a Democrat. Matter of fact, just don't vote for anyone that says they're going to raise your taxes, right, or keep you safe, because they're not going to. The community keeps you safe. Hold people accountable and look towards that. Look towards finding leadership that can restore accountability, restore some sort of just ethical standard in our communities. We just don't have it.
Yeah,
so don't vote Democrat.
That's good advice. Don't vote for a Democrat. Should go without saying. Well, that's going to be it for this edition of the Conservative Daily Podcast. Remember that you can download the podcast on Apple Podcasts as well as the Google Play Store. You can also find us on the Podbean app, which more people are using nowadays. And you can also find us at conservative-daily.com/podcast. Please do subscribe to receive the podcast. We're also streaming on YouTube and Facebook, so you can watch us there. There's a lot of the audio clips that you might be hearing. We are playing videos, so if you watch the live streams, you'll see the videos as well. Please do subscribe. Please do comment. Let us know what you think. It really helps as we try to plan out these episodes. So again, my name is Max McGuire.
And this is Joe Otto.
And remember that the fight to take back our country isn't over, but the only way we win is if we all fight together.